Hello, and welcome to the end of tournament recap for the Spring Chess Classic 2025. My name is Caleb Denby, and I'm here to take you through our final standings and some of the coolest moments from the back half of the tournament. To start off with, in the A group, we have a clear winner in Andrew Hong. Andrew takes home $5,000 for first place and an extra $500 as the winner's bonus, winning untied. Abhimanyu Mishra, the youngest player in the event, came in a very close second place, needed to win in the last round to force a playoff. Couldn't quite do it, but second place is not bad at all with 5.5 points out of 9. A few players tied for third place on +1. Those players are Ilya Nizhnik, Nicholas Theodorou, and Robbie Kevlashvili, all three of which played some very interesting chess and had a lot of upswings and downswings this tournament. Lots of wins and losses in the A group. Following them is Lazaro Bruzon with 4.5 out of 9. Following Lazaro is Mikhail Antipov, who unfortunately did have to drop out of the tournament in round 8 for personal reasons. Following Antipov is Benjamin Bach with 3.5 points, and Victor Gazik also with 3.5. And Yasser Quesada rounds out our leaderboard with 3 points out of 9. And over in the B group, Nicolosi Katarava and Darius Swiertz finished the tournament with 6 points out of 9 in a tie for first place. So they split the first place and second place prize, each getting $3,500. But then we had a playoff, and the playoff was super exciting. They drew the first game of the 2-game Blitz playoff, and then Darius Swiertz was able to take home the first place prize of an extra $500 by winning in the second Blitz game. Huge congratulations to Darius for his big victory. Following them in third place is Carissa Yip, who very nearly almost got that Grandmaster norm. Unfortunately, she finished just a half point shy, but clearly her future is bright, and I'm sure she is making progress both in rating and skill towards getting that Grandmaster title. Following Carissa is Dambasurin Batsurin, along with Thomas Bjergsen, both with 4.5 points. Following them are Harsha, Luca, and Isak Khan, all on 4 points. And rounding out our leaderboard in the B group is Emin Ohanian and Dimitar Mardov, both with 3.5. Now, let's check out some of the coolest moments from rounds 6, 7, 8, and 9. Round 6 saw the leader at the time, Antipov, with the black pieces against Victor Gazik. And here Antipov has successfully played a very nice Sicilian, and the game is more or less balanced. White, as you can see, has some very powerfully placed pieces up in the center of the board. However, black's pieces are surprisingly well placed as well. This knight threatens to hop into f5. This knight puts a lot of pressure on white's queen side, and these bishops are ready to spring to life at a moment's notice. And that latent pressure here ended up breaking through after Victor plays the unfortunate move knight to d2, when all of a sudden white's position starts to fall apart. It was critical that Victor left these rooks connected to apply pressure down the d-file and prevent the line that you're about to see. Mikhail pounces on the opportunity, breaks through with e5. White goes ahead and captures on e5, unwilling to move this knight, allowing pieces to jump in like knight f5. Other tactics like knight takes b2 and queen takes c2 were lurking in the air if that knight on d4 moved. So Victor feels the need to play f takes e5. After knight takes, Victor goes ahead and plays knight 2 to b3. But now after b4 takes, bishop d6 is the killer blow. So as you can see, these two rooks are still a bit blocked. If that knight weren't on d2, Victor could have moved this knight from d4 on the previous turn, preventing bishop d6, applying pressure to the bishop on d7, and keeping the balance of the game. Instead, after bishop d6, there's simply no good way for white to deal with these combined threats. In the game, Victor played rook to e3, but after knight e to g4, double threat on the queen and the rook, Victor had seen enough and actually resigned in this position rather than play on. So huge win for Mikhail. Unfortunately, he did have to drop out of the tournament after round 8 or after round 7. So he was not able to follow through on his momentum, but still some really excellent chess from Mikhail this tournament, and I look forward to seeing where he plays next. And in round number 7, we had a very interesting game between Emin Ohanian and Thomas Bjergsen. So here Emin has white, and he's actually on the worst side of this position after the opening. you see black has this bishop pair, which doesn't look so dangerous right at this moment, but white is also overextended in the center, with this e5 pawn being a burden to defend. And here Thomas is actually able to tactically capture that pawn and launch an attack against the white king. So here Thomas plays bishop to c6, and after queen to e2, he simply gives up the bishop pair in exchange for the knight on f3 in order to take away this powerful e5 pawn. Amin captures on d8 and then captures on h5 to regain the pawn, but the damage has sort of been done. You see these two pieces on the queen side for white, even the rook on the queen side for white, not really participating in the defense of the king, and Thomas sensed that this was the moment to attack. He starts with queen to f6, hitting the f2 pawn. Amin goes rook to c2 to defend. Now we see knight f3 check, and the final piece for black enters the fray with rook to d1 check. The checks continue, and now after rook h2, king f1, it's the critical moment. See if you at home can see what Thomas found here in this position to end the game. If you Levy Rosman fans are out there, you might have a leg up on some other people. Of course, he sacrifices the rook. Rook takes f2. Amin goes ahead and captures, but now after knight to d2 check, Amin felt the need to resign. Black is capturing this rook back, winning a piece on b3, and the white king is going to remain in mortal danger. Just for example, if you go king to e2, takes, checkmate threats are there, everything is there, and white is dead lost. So, huge win for Thomas in round number 7, cementing his place in the upper half of the leaderboard. And in round number 8, we're going to pivot back to the A group, where our A group champion, Andrew Hong, managed to take the lead with this impressive win over Yasser Quesada. So here Andrew has white, and while it is a 3 versus 3 rook and pawn endgame, that's 3 pawns for each side, Andrew's definitely on the better side of things. He's got this powerful passed pawn on c6, and more than that, he has the rook behind the pawn, a very dangerous setup to try to defend against. Here, Yasser has placed his king on e4, which is a very intuitive thing, but actually, there are some other ways you could try to defend here. So rather than king to e4, I might have been partial to trying something like king to d6, and freeing up my rook, blockading with the king rather than the rook. There is a quote-unquote rule in king and pawn, or rook and pawn endgames, where you always want to blockade the pawns with your least powerful piece. So here the rook is more maneuverable, more powerful than the king, and it might be a good idea to move the rook out of the way, blockade with the king, and then play with your rook on the king's side. Instead, he goes king to e4, which is not a mistake just yet, but it does lead to some danger. After h4 for Andrew, Yasser plays the losing move, which is g5. Instead, he had to wait on the position, play something like king e5 or king d5, and find the right moment to play g5. Instead, after g5, Andrew goes ahead and captures, and after black captures back, we see a very, very strange zugzwang. Black is absolutely paralyzed here, unable to move any of his pieces without giving something up. In the game, he chose to go king d4, sacrificing his 2 pawns for the c6 pawn. However, this rook and pawn endgame is lost, and Andrew went on to win without too many difficulties. Goes g4, and some very nice technique by Andrew here to secure the win in this position. It was by no means a sure thing. However, with accurate play, the correct result was found, with Andrew winning this game here, Yasser resigning in light of the unstoppable g7, g8 pawn pushes, getting a new queen. So following this, Andrew was paired against Antipov in the 9th round and received a win by forfeit, as Antipov again had to drop out. So this was the last game Andrew won in order to secure first place in the A group. Huge congratulations to our A group champion, Andrew Hong. In the 9th and final round, we switched to the B group, where there was still everything left to play for. So here, Nicolosi Kancharava with the white pieces needs to defeat Dimitar Mardov with black in order to force a playoff against Daro Svirts. So here, Kancharava has white, and he finds this move bishop to c2. He very acutely played queen to a2 rather than the tempting queen takes a4 here to step out of this knight c5 with tempo. So queen a2, queen c7, now bishop c2. He manages to pick up this a4 pawn in the most advantageous way. And after queen takes a4, rook e7, rook to b4. With that extra pawn, things eventually simplified to this position. And now Nicolosi very expertly reroutes all of his pieces to slowly but surely build things up on the queen's side. And while this pawn looks well blockaded for now, a bigger issue is that this dark squared bishop is just not really participating in the fight. And you'll see Nicolosi is able to bring his pieces from the king's side to support these pawns on the queen's side and secure victory. So how does he do it? Starts with rook c1, then brings bishop to e3, gaining control over the c5 square. That c5 break is absolutely critical. Now he goes knight to d2, knight to e2, and you see the knights make themselves known here on the queen's side. So finally, with this piece being able to defend c4, Nicolosi activates the rooks down the b file. After f4, bishop f2, goes knight to b5, knight to a7, and rook to b7. So again, those two knights that were stuck on the king's side now come all the way over to the queen's side and assist in this c5 break, allowing Nicolosi to get a winning advantage. And this dark squared bishop is stuck defending d6 and doing nothing else. So after takes, it's completely winning for white, and he finds the right time to play the fantastic break c5. Black can and does take that pawn with it being defended by the bishop, but now after knight to c4, Dimitar simply resigned here because of the fact that knight takes e5 is coming, and there's no way to stop it. You cannot defend this pawn. Going to lose this guy with check. You're probably going to lose more material on the 7th rank here, and it's completely hopeless. So with that, Kaczmarov forced his way into a playoff against Svirts, but luckily for Svirts, he was able to keep his momentum going that he's had this entire tournament and won that playoff against Kaczmarov. So huge congratulations to our B group champion, Daro Svirts. And that concludes our recap of the Spring Chess Classic 2025. Let me know in the comments which game was your favorite. I loved seeing all the interesting chess being shown off here in St. Louis. Be sure to tune in next time for our next event.